welcome back. Cage Kiplinger, Logan Hubert. This is the K&L Sports Huddle episode number 49. We're recording this on Monday, February 9th. This is where we're going to be staying for a while, going back to Mondays. We're out of the football seasons, sticking to the Mondays. Lots to get to today on the show. Super Bowl recap. NBA All-Star festivities are this weekend, so we'll touch on some of those events for that, as well as an intriguing trade that happened right at the end of the deadline last week. And to close out the pod today, starting a bit of a journey through the MLB divisions to reveal my all-time rosters for all 30 Major League ball clubs. So really excited about that. We'll get to 5 of them today. Before we do that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Every bit helps. Or if you prefer listening on Spotify, the link to our page is on our YouTube channel description. You can also get us on Instagram at HuddleKL Sports for breaking news and clips from our episodes. Logan, it's good to see you again on this post-Super Bowl Monday. How you feeling?
Feeling well. Did you enjoy your 4-hour Super Bowl watch?
It was sluggish.
Yeah, it was. For Super Bowl standards, it was a fairly quick game, I think, because sometimes they drag on a very long time. So we'll explain kind of why that was the case later. But yeah, I'm ready to get right into it. So, yep, the NFL season's over, so it's probably time you get your mind in basketball world. So if you're wondering what happened this past week, well, we had the NBA trade deadline that happened on Thursday. And I'm going to be honest, that's usually the most exciting part of the regular season. And it actually is. It actually is kind of exciting. But it's sad that is the most exciting part of the regular season. But alrighty, starting off, the Warriors added a former All-Star and Kristaps Porzingis to pair with Steph Curry. They are finally getting rid of Jonathan Kuminga, which deserves a parade because we could finally quit hearing about Kuminga in trade talks like we have for the last couple of years, and now he can go to the Hawks, where even if he is in trade talks again, no one will care because he's not on the Warriors. So I don't know. I don't think this helps the Warriors very much. I get it; they're trying to do something different, but I mean, Porzingis is just kind of a shell of what that short window of when he was really good. He's not really there anymore. And then also another guy who is kind of injury prone and not really where he is, where he should be, is Anthony Davis, and he is going to the Washington Wizards of all places. And if that team sounds
It's a place
familiar,
to be right now.
If that team sounds familiar, yes, that's where Trae Young was sent to just a couple weeks ago. So an interesting duo there. It's not going to lead to any title runs or anything, but it could lead to relevancy, which for the Wizards, why not?
That's all they can hope for right now.
That's all
AD's out for the season, so it's not anything for this year, but it's just funny what Dallas has gotten out of the Luka trade.
Yeah, Anthony Davis only played 29 career games with the Mavericks, so basically the biggest prize in the Luka trade for the Mavericks only didn't even result in half a season's worth of games. So yeah, pretty sad, but they did get a decent haul with some draft picks for Davis. So who knows? With lottery
Cooper
left
Flag.
in. Yeah, exactly. Okay, looking into college basketball news, a very, very fun Saturday of basketball. The Duke-UNC rivalry delivered again as the home team, North Carolina Tar Heels, were down, I think, the entire game. I don't think they ever had the lead until the last few seconds of the game when Seth Trimble hit that game-winning three in the corner. I saw as soon as that went in, I was like, there's time on the clock still. And then I just saw the whole court rush and all that. And I was like, yes, I mean, that was so obvious that they're going to put time back on the clock. So I noticed it in real time, and sure enough, they put half a second back. But I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't really care. I just always root for a good game in Duke UNC. I'm not a fan of either team. But like when they play each other, how is that not a technical foul? I mean, all seriousness, I mean, they had to clean the court and stuff. I mean, I feel like
and Tar Heels, why are you storming the court? Like, have some self-respect.
that's also sad too. Yeah, I mean, sure, it was exciting, but it's not like Duke was number one and undefeated. Yes, this is a good Duke team, fourth and only one loss. But yes, not like it's a. The only scenario I could ever see this as plausible is if Duke was like 1, number one, undefeated, and like UNC had been on a long losing streak against them, and it's like finally, but that hasn't been the case. So yeah, that was kind of depressing. But still, great game, great game. And then for the second time this year, Kentucky beat Tennessee in that border rivalry. And also the second time this year that Tennessee had a double-digit lead in the second half in this game and ended up losing, as Colin Chandler hit a big shot in the final minute to grab the lead for Kentucky, and they were able to hold on. So yeah, and there were lots of other good games that day too. We just wanted to highlight those. Those were probably the most entertaining, and I think they were back to back on ESPN.
Great warm up for Super Bowl Sunday.
Absolutely. And then going to the NFL, not to the topic at hand of yesterday, but Thursday night we had the NFL awards ceremony, which I'm glad I don't watch it, but I'm glad they kind of do it that way. The award winners were Matthew Stafford for MVP. He beat out Drake May by 1 vote. Josh Allen and Justin Herbert also received votes, very interestingly. Mike Vrabel won Coach of the Year, and if anyone's complaining about that, like, oh, this coach should have won, there were like 5 different coaches who had a case for this. You can't complain that your guy didn't win because they all had like an equal, they all had an equal argument for it, and they just had to pick one. So I mean, like Kyle Shanahan had a very good claim to it. Obviously, Mike McDonald did. Taking that team to next levels. Liam Cohen taking the Jaguars from irrelevancy to that. Ben Johnson winning the NFC North when they were projected last, and then Sean Payton getting the 1 seed. I mean, all those guys had an equal case of winning, and like you couldn't just. I mean, they had to give it to somebody. So congrats to Mike Vrabel there, and Jackson Smith and Jigba won Offensive Player of the Year. Don't really see much of an issue with that. Myles Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year. He did not deserve that. He didn't do anything this year to deserve that. And then the rookies wasn't it? Is McMillan from the Panthers won Offensive Rookie of the Year, and then I can't remember that Browns guy's name who won Defensive.
Sweshing.
Yes, that's right. Yep. Yep, and those were the big ones. But they're also recognizing past achievements because they always do the induction to the Hall of Fame class at these award ceremony, which I also like. And this year we have a pretty elite class. We have quarterback Drew Brees from the Chargers and primarily the Saints. He set all kinds of passing records back in his heyday. Won one Super Bowl MVP. Kind of unfortunate that he didn't win more, but that's just kind of how things fell for him during the 2010s. Larry Fitzgerald, definitely Hall of Fame worthy, super long career, always consistent, always had, I believe, he had more tackles and drops, which is just an insane stat. I guess that's true. He was never a guy. To me, he was never a guy like whenever you're facing him, you're like, oh no, we're facing Fitzgerald. What are we going to do to game plan him? But he was just always consistent. Like he's not like a Calvin Johnson or Julio Jones like kind of guy, but he always put up the yards, and he was so reliable that easily Hall of Fame worthy. Luke Kuechly, linebacker for the Panthers, had a very, very strong peak with the Panthers, made that defense very elite, especially in 2015 when they went to the Super Bowl. Definitely a Hall of Fame worthy talent. I don't think he deserved. My opinion is he didn't deserve first ballot just because of how short his career was.
Yeah,
definitely should have been in at some time, but I think his career was too short to be first ballot. And then Adam Vinatieri, the all-time NFL scoring leader. If Morton Anderson's in the Hall of Fame, Adam Vinatieri definitely has to be there. I mean, he broke his scoring record and hit multiple clutch kicks, including 2 in the Super Bowl to win. Definitely deserved for Adam Vinatieri. And Roger Craig, he was the one who, not a first ballot, esteemed 49ers running back in their 80s, 90s dynasty. About time. Yeah, he was definitely not first ballot worthy or like early, but he was very good running back, and he definitely deserves to get in now. So, especially with the Super Bowl in San Francisco, good time
Yeah.
for that for him to get inducted. So, I all these players are Hall of Fame worthy. A couple maybe not exactly first ballot, I don't think, but it's an elite class. I will say that.
Yep. We're getting old, Logan. The players that
We
we
are
grew up watching are now getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. It's what a time. All right, let's move on to our NFL playoff spotlight. And this is obvious. It's the Super Bowl edition. Super Bowl 60 came and went. We got basically the worst case scenario with this matchup between the Seahawks and Patriots. Seahawks, Super Bowl champs, 29-13 victory over the Pats. And this one was quite the snooze fest for much of this game. It was 12-0 at halftime after 4 Jason Myers field goals as he went on to set a Super Bowl record for field goals made. You mentioned this to me. I believe Bad Bunny had a longer time of possession than the Patriots offense. And it was a completely dominating performance by the Seahawks, especially on the defensive side. From the jump, the Pats O-line was just in shambles, especially on that left side, the young side, with Will Campbell and company. The Seahawks were getting pressure on Maye all game. Will Campbell allowing an NFL worst 14 pressures in the Super Bowl. Just a rough day at the office going up against one of the best defenses in the league, who I said they don't get many sacks, but in this game they got 6 of them. And so that flipped that argument on its head. But Logan, what were some of your takeaways before we get into some of the deeper topics of this?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It was the Seattle defense who won them this game. Patriots O line was awful, which led to Drake May being awful because you watch the tape. Eventually, when it gets to his head, he was missing throws and just missing wide open guys, just not even seeing them. So yeah, the Seahawks were just clearly in the Patriots' offense's head. The Patriots' defense, I thought, played well enough to win. Biggest difference is the Seahawks' defense made the plays to win because Seahawks, like I said, had 6 sacks. The Patriots only got to Darnold once the entire game. Turnover battle went 3 for the Seahawks and 3 turnovers caused by the Seahawks and 0 caused by the Patriots. So yeah, I mean the Patriots' defense played very well. They just needed to play out of their minds to win this game because of how poor their offense was against the Seahawks defense. So yeah, I mean, really no alarming stats from the offensive side on either side. You can't even look at the Patriots stats because like they're so inflated by the garbage time fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You look at it like, oh, May wasn't too bad.
May threw for 295 yards.
And I think about 200 of that was in the fourth quarter.
Right.
I saw he may have set the record for most passing yards in a single quarter.
Yeah.
I think I saw that.
Garbage time stats.
Yeah, I mean, that was a classic Dak Prescott like performance by Drake May. But yeah, I mean, Kenneth Walker MVP, I would say deservedly so. 27 carries, 135 rushing yards, broke off a couple big ones in the first half, which put them in the field goal range.
Yeah, he was the only real standout performer offensively for either side. So he broke off a few big runs. Probably would have had more if not for a holding penalty that kept him from.
AJ Barner was good. Their tight end. He had 4 catches for 50-something yards and a touchdown. Not really. He had the first touchdown of the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter. So that just kind of describes the game for you. But my opinion is just that, like you said, this was the worst case scenario. And another reason is because it was bad, but it wasn't the absolute worst. Because we can't call this the worst Super Bowl of all time because there's been worse, but it was so mediocre that it's got to be forgotten. Like the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl a few years ago, ended up 13-3. People still talk about that because of how bad it was. I don't think this one was that bad. So I think
this one will be forgotten.
It's going to be forgotten. This one's going to be completely forgotten about in a few years, especially because I don't know if either team could make it again. I mean, they certainly, Seahawks especially, certainly could.
Yeah.
sometimes you just don't see defenses. Sometimes you just see their peaks last just for a year. So you never know. But so yeah, I think this is this is going to be a forgotten Super Bowl. But still, Seattle, they deserved it. They won it. They're the best team this year. I think we said 2 weeks ago the real Super Bowl was the NFC Championship.
Yeah. Um, and what a journey for Sam Darnold. I think we've spoken on it in previous weeks, but just to finally get here and to have gone through everything that he's gone through with his career, at this point, he really doesn't have anything left to prove. And even though he didn't have to do much in this game, he proved himself at least in the NFC Championship game. That's when they needed him. That's when they needed him to put on the cape, the QB performance. And this one, it was defense first. And I mean, you kind of called it with the MVP that it would go to some offensive player because the defense was great for Seattle. There wasn't one guy that stood out. I almost think at this point for the Super Bowl, we should be able to award a whole unit the MVP award. I mean, we draft a team's defense for fantasy, so I mean, why not? But yeah, it was hard to watch at times, but it was so just amazing how quick the edges got to May on some of those possessions. They were. I mean, Witherspoon was getting off the line on that edge incredibly fast. That I thought he was Myles Garrett or something. As for Drake May, obviously had a rough game, but I mean, he's in his second year. And I think for most of the year, he navigated a bad O-line that just finally got exposed in the biggest game of the year. They were able to get through, as we've spoken before, an easy schedule. And I think, some of their faults were definitely brought to attention in this game more so than most. There wasn't the weather to be able to, even the playing field here. And getting sacked 6 times for Mays was a rough day at the office. But I mean, looking at the future of this league, that 2024 QB class is looking really good. 4 of the 6 first rounders made the playoffs in just 2 seasons. 3 have made it to the conference championship game, and 1 has made it to the Super Bowl. So I think we're in pretty good hands, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to Darnold, I mean, his stats weren't eye-popping. 50% completion percentage, just over 200 yards and a touchdown, but he didn't see ghosts because he never made the dumb play, and that's what he needed to do. He did enough to win and not give it away, because that's kind of what we saw with Denver 2 weeks ago against New England. I mean, the Denver defense was incredible, but Stidham just that horrible strip sack or fumble or
he hadn't played in like 2 years or something.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, you got to know just to not do that. And,
right.
And Darnold did not to do anything stupid like that. So yeah, I think in a normal year, this Patriots team, there's just so many. Like you talked about, so many breaks just went their way in the AFC for them to get here. I think in a normal year, this was a 6 seed. I wouldn't say 7 seed. I would say a 6 seed wild card team who loses a competitive game in the wild card round against the division leader. I think that's just who they were. That's who they were this year. I just think things just broke their way in every single possible way, and then it finally came to the Super Bowl, and it just didn't. And it finally showed who they really were, which is not a bad team by any means.
No.
Their defense was great. It's just they were not Super Bowl caliber. They were a wild card team who had quarterbacks that should have been there go out, had not be in the field with like Mahomes and Jackson, and then had Bo Nix tear his or Bo Nix injury, broke his ankle, and then Josh Allen's unfortunate loss to Denver. Before that, he didn't have to face him. So, I mean, but the good news with the Patriots, like you said, it's only Drake May's second year. So he'll be in that class of elite. He'll be in that class of elite AFC quarterbacks probably here very, very soon, and. It really is amazing. You look all the Super Bowl champions of the 2020s. It's either the Chiefs or a dominant NFC team, and you just look at it. It's because all the best teams, like team wise, are in the NFC. All the best quarterbacks are in the AFC. I mean, because people are saying Darnold might be the best quarterback in the NFC, and I say no. I said Stafford is, but I mean he's not going. Stafford's only going to be there maybe for one more year. So like, who's next? I mean, you got Hurts and
Off.
Purdy and Goff, and I mean they're nowhere near when
Time for
Mahomes.
Caleb Williams to
Like
ascend.
it really has to balance it out because on the other side you have, assuming they're all healthy and in their peak, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Jackson, May, Nix, yeah, Lawrence if he plays like he did at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, all the quarterbacks are in the AFC, but all the good teams are in the NFC, and that's how the whole 2020s has gone so far.
Yeah, you know me. I hope Burrow gets back and Bengals can do something special next year. Hope we can get like Caleb Downs in the draft. That'd be awesome. You were mentioning the Patriots Rams Super Bowl, kind of where this ranks in terms of the worst Super Bowls this century. Just looking at like 2001 Super Bowl 35 Ravens Giants, 34-7 was that score. 2006
Harry
Steelers.
Collins versus Trent Dilfer was the quarterback matchup in that. The only reason that Super Bowl gets remembered is because of the nostalgia of that Ravens defense.
Right.
So unless Seattle just continues to be dominant, they're not going to get that same nostalgia. I don't feel
Right.
like so. That's
Okay.
that's that's the only chance they have of this Super Bowl being remembered.
Let's keep it going. 2006 Super Bowl 40 Steelers 21 Seahawks 10. Another Seahawks one. Don't know much about that one, but just looking at the score of like it being lower scoring.
There was an exciting play in that one. The Antoine Randall pass to Hines Ward, the trick play. That was a fun play, but yeah, that was. I remember that I was in Ford Field in Detroit, so not many. Kind of a rare host, but it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
The real doozy. 2014 Super Bowl 48 Seahawks 43 Broncos 8. Is that the Peyton Manning blunder game?
Yes. Yeah.
uh,
Which on paper that was the most exciting. It was one of the most exciting Super Bowl matchups on paper because of how dominant that 2013 Broncos offense was, setting all the records, and then the Legion of Boom peaking. So I was like, oh, this could be one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, and then no, nope,
uh,
not even close.
2016 Broncos 24 Panthers 10. That was the Cam Newton game where he doesn't dive on the football. Basically,
Yeah, that game's definitely in the tier of like the worst, but it's definitely like at the top of that tier. Like it's borderline a fine Super Bowl, but I understand why people don't like that one because it was kind of boring.
Patriots 13 Rams 3. That was Super Bowl 53 2019. 2020.
Undoubtedly the worst. I saw highlights of that Super Bowl the other day on my feed, and like I had not watched anything from that Super Bowl since then, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. It was so bad.
That was Rams like Jared Goff, Todd Gurley. Was that like that
Yes,
crew?
it was horrible. So many punts, and I mean, so many punts factored in. No one liked the Patriots, and no one really liked the Rams because they got into the Super Bowl because of the pass interference that was never called against the Saints that year. So like, it was hard to root for either team, and then they gave us that 13-3 blunder in a game indoors. It was, yeah, nothing could top that.
And I think the last one to look at probably 2021 Bucks and Chiefs 31-9. Tom Brady last hurrah, taking down Mahomes. In a blowout victory there, but
COVID was the only thing that made that one memorable.
yeah. But I guess we're agreeing that the Super Bowl 53 probably still holds the crown for worst Super Bowl in our lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, I remember who. I think that was the Maroon 5 halftime show, and I remember that was pretty bad too. And I like Maroon 5, but I remember it was just a lame halftime show, and yeah, that was just a snooze fest.
Did you watch the Bad Bunny halftime show? Even though I
I
didn't know
did. I
any
thought
words he was saying, it looked really cool. It sounded really cool.
so. I don't think it sounded very good because I do enjoy. Like, I don't know any Bad Bunny songs, but like I do enjoy Latin American music, like some of the pop music, where because I feel like his music, he's just like mumbling the whole time.
Mm.
Like, but I could enjoy like the Spanish speaking, like those kind of songs, like I mean, I'm not saying like the song Despacito, but like those kind of songs with that kind of tune, where you can understand what they're saying, like you can understand like make out Spanish words, but the vibes were cool. I will say that the vibes were cool. I liked all the props they used, so it was entertaining to watch. I will say that it's nowhere near like the worst, nowhere near the best, but it was right there in the middle. It just kind of went with the Super Bowl. I mean, I would say it's in a higher tier than the Super Bowl would be,
Yeah,
but this all this there's just nothing going to be too memorable about this because the commercials were very mediocre. There are a couple good ones, but overall mediocre. Game very mediocre. In the halftime show, you couldn't understand what he was saying, so there were negatives and positives to make it okay, and that was that was it. And I think this is all going to be forgotten in
it'd
just
be
a couple
just
of
a
years.
completely forgotten season, but it's over with now. Seahawks are champions, and they'll get to hold on to that moniker until next season's Super Bowl. So
Yeah. One final note: I know a lot of people were claiming that Jason Myers should have won MVP because he set the record for most field goals made in a game, and he scored a total of 17 points in this game. I think he would have won MVP, and he should have won MVP if he would have made a longer field goal. It was only 33, 39, 2 41s, and a 26. I think if you would have thrown a 50-plus yarder in there, then
that
I would have been for a Myers MVP. It's just, yeah, I mean, none of those were, I mean, 41's not a chip shot, but they're all
right.
makeable for him. So that's why I don't think he quite deserved it, even though he did do his job.
No, Brandon Aubrey 60 yarder
No,
in that game. So yeah, cool. I wouldn't give it to a kicker. I get so
I
tired
would.
of kickers.
If it was that Seahawks Colts game a few weeks ago, remember Philip Rivers actually put up more points against the Seattle defense than the
Yeah,
Patriots did. Um, Jason Myers made 6 field goals in that, including multiple 50 yarders. I think if you make 2 50 yarders and the offense never scores, you have to give the MVP to the kicker at that point. Yeah.
well, this season's over. We got to start switching our mindset over to basketball until the NFL draft. But the Seahawks are champions, so congratulations. We'll see what they do next year. But now we move on to the Hardwood, and we got All-Star festivities coming up this weekend. But before we get to that, there was a trade that happened about like an hour, maybe less than an hour to go to the trade deadline last week between the Pacers and the Clippers. So this was the trade. So the Indiana Pacers acquired center Ivica Zubac. I don't probably butchering that, but and forward Kobe Brown from the Clippers in exchange for Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, 2 first-round picks, and a second-round pick. The move pretty much filled a major void at center for Indiana after Miles Turner went to Milwaukee, and that provided them with a starting big man under contract through the 2027-28 season. And I thought this was one of the most intriguing deals of the trade deadline, specifically because of the pick. So the Pacers get Zubac, a solid, very consistent, available center. Down low for them, which they didn't even have with Turner. He was a scrawny or more of a spot up shooter. I hated seeing him at the 3-point line so many times during their run.
And he
But
missed most of them.
right, and now they get a more traditional big man, which is huge for them. But not only that, next season, I mean, they're gearing up for 2026-27, and the East better be watching the Pacers going into next year because they're going to be getting Tyrese Halliburton back off his injury. But the lottery pick that they are sending to the Clippers is protected if it lands 1 through 4 or 10 through 30. So there's a small little pocket where it will go to the Clippers 5 through 9, which makes this upcoming draft lottery really interesting. And I'm actually going to be watching it to look for what happens with this Pacers pick, because if they land this in the 1 through 4, I mean, even if it's number 4 and Debonsa, Peterson, who's are already off the table, they can still get a guy like Caleb Wilson, guy from Arizona, Piat. I mean, this is going to be a very deep draft. And if they're able to, after this trade, get a guy like Zubac and a very productive kid coming out of college to be a rotational player for this team that I think is still fun to watch, even though this season, even though they keep losing games because they just keep playing hard, and Pascal Siakam is doing so much. Definitely be on notice for this team going into next season.
Yeah, I've never seen more of an incentive to tank than this, for being
Right.
honest. I mean, yeah, because you're capped this year with no Halliburton, and you're already down in the hole big time in the standings. So there's no incentive to win any games. But unfortunately, there are 9 other teams also thinking that exact moment, which is why this might be the worst NBA regular season I've ever watched, which is saying something. But I'm not gonna talk about that now. Discuss that at a later time. Not tonight, but because it's getting bad tanking wise. But nevertheless, for the Pacers, this is an absolute need. And as a fan, I don't even mind the draft pick thing, because if the lottery luck had them getting a pick 5 through 9, if you look at this draft board, most of those guys are guards. And the Pacers, would you rather have a guard who could turn out very, very good, but that's an if, or a big man who is, exactly what he does, and he does it at a much better rate than Miles Turner ever did? You would take that. Yeah, but dream scenario is, yes, they get that first through one of those 1 through 4 picks, and they're currently the worst team in the East, so that's certainly have a chance at that. So I love this for the Pacers. It's good for the league because the East-West balance has been so bad this year. You need better teams in the East, and yeah, I like it a lot.
Well, also like think about what next year could provide, because like the Celtics will have Tatum back, so I think the East is going to get elevated. I hope we get like a Celtics Pacers Eastern Conference Finals next year. That'd be pretty cool. Fully healthy. And you're right. Yeah, if that pick went 5 through 9, and it's mostly guards, like you said, they've already got Halliburton and Nimhard and Shepard, and so they're good guard wise. So definitely get one of these bigger guys. Like if they can land like DeBonzo, Boozer, somebody like that, that'd be all
And
right.
this would be like the best. This would be as good as the Spurs losing season that made them get Tim Duncan.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could argue that. You'd like to say Warriors because that sucks season they had, and they won the championship 2 years later. But
Mm-hmm.
James Wiseman didn't really do anything for them, so yeah, it really didn't really provide any benefits for them. But
All
this
right.
definitely could.
All-Star Weekend. So we've got all the traditional festivities, the three-point contest, slam dunk contest, the shooting stars contest that's replacing the skills challenge, and then obviously the All-Star games. What's something that you're looking forward to? Just looking at, the slam dunk is like, who, like, why?
Carter Bryant, Jackson Hayes, uh, Keishad Johnson, and Jace Richardson. Yes, all of the stars have come out for the dunk contest. The dunk contest should be disbanded, because even if they had the top guys in this, like, all the good dunks have been used. Like, you can only be so creative. The 3-point contest has long overtaken the dunk contest for best event to watch on that Saturday night, and I think it'll still be good to watch this year. Yeah, Lillard will be participating in it, which is interesting because he hasn't really played. Devin Booker, Con Knipple, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Bobby Portis, and Norman Powell. So no Curry, but 8 excellent shooters. And if you got nothing to watch, I would tune in for at least the 3-point contest, because they do take that seriously, and it's fun to see how many they can drill in that time slot. Other than that, yeah, I don't really care to watch anything. I might just look up an itinerary and see what time the 3-point starts, and then that'll be my All-Star festivities for the week. I don't really care to watch the All-Star game the next day, or the celebrity games up there for one of the worst events on TV. I I despise watching that, even though Taco Fall is going to be in it this year, so that could be interesting, because I don't know who's going to guard him.
Yeah. So yeah, with the All-Star game, it's like they've got 2 USA teams and then a world team, and I don't exactly know how it's going to work. There's going to be multiple games that go on Sunday. Um, I just there it's again another gimmicky type thing. I don't quite think it's going to work. I really just think they should just go back to East West, and like I enjoyed it back when it was just a crap game where you know they would throw up shots and not play any defense for 3 quarters, but then you saw them lock in around the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter,
Well,
and
that one, they got it to work about 5 years ago when they did it was that Kobe thing in honor of Kobe where they set the limit and it was for charity. Like that was some of the most fun NBA basketball I've ever watched because they all took it seriously. Like to get to that final point tally, whatever it had to be. Like it was legit. All 10 guys were like hustling, and like it was almost like watching a Team USA scrimmage like that or behind closed doors. Like that's what it looked like. They've not been able to recreate that at all. They've kind of tried; it just hasn't worked. And I don't think there is a formula anymore to get this thing to work. And I mean, Team Europe did take a loss. They lost. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will not be playing due to his injury, um, so they won't be as stacked. But it doesn't really matter because those European guys might take it less seriously than the USA guys even do.
yeah. I might tune in just to see what it's all about. But I might have something else better to do on Sunday than watch the All-Star game. I would like to see this 3-point contest. Looks stacked. A lot of big names for that. That could be a lot of fun. But man, we need to get actual dudes playing in the slam dunk contest again. I don't know what happened along the
That should
way.
be. That would be. I think that would be the. I think they should do one more dunk contest and pay the top guys whatever they want, and then just call out the last dunk contest. Because, like I said, there's nothing. There's just really not much more these guys can do. It's been
Creativity
lacking.
wise, yeah.
It's been like creativity wise, but it's been lacking star power for so long. Just get the top guys in it for one final dunk contest, then just right off into the sunset with it. We can just watch Vince Carter highlights to remember how fun it used to be.
Yeah. All right. We've made it to our next segment, the rotation, and really excited to start this for you guys. I'm doing my AL East all-time rosters reveal, doing the Baltimore Orioles, Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, Tampa Bay Rays, and Toronto Blue Jays. And I think this is my best roster construction yet. I did this on and off the last couple of years, just trying to piece together teams. But I was really inspired in 2020, actually, when MLB.com did their dream bracket rosters. So this was during when baseball was basically shut down for COVID, and MLB.com did this thing where they put these all-time teams together for every franchise and then simulated them in this baseball simulator game. I can't remember what the name of it was, but inspired me to build these for myself. And every team's got 13 hitters, 13 pitchers, making up a full 26-man roster. Every team has a DH to reflect the current state of lineups for both the AL and NL. Basically, the way players were selected, they were based on a number of different factors, mainly historical impact and legacy with the franchise. Obviously, stats and accolades play a big part. But only the stats and accolades that they accrued with that franchise. Obviously, postseason runs, you'll notice with some of these teams where the bulk of the players listed kind of gravitate towards championship teams or championship runs. And then finally, tenure with the franchise. We're not going to have those guys who played one season or half a season and put up gaudy numbers, just making it on the roster because of their stats. So you gotta spend some time, at least for most of these teams. I know some of these teams are expansion franchises much later in MLB history, but so we might have some of those, especially with the Tampa Bay Rays, where maybe guys only played a year or two do make this roster. So
what you're saying, there won't be many Aroldis Chapmans on this list.
There's going to be a couple, but maybe not.
1 year of elite world, much needed postseason play by a team, and then just dump them off to the next team.
Right. Spoiler: you will see him twice throughout this
Okay.
this 30 team journey here. So we'll get started with the Baltimore Orioles. So the first thing with this team is that you've got a lot of really good defense. So on the left side of the infield, obviously Cal Ripken Jr. and Brooks Robinson are going to be manning down the left side of the infield. And with Brooks Robinson, you got the greatest defensive third baseman, 16 gold gloves, obviously had the 1964 MVP. So you got really good defense on the left side, but also guys like George Sisler, who was actually an old St. Louis Browns member. So as far as the Baltimore Orioles history, you've got half of their history, they were the St. Louis Browns, where they shared Sportsman's Park with the Cardinals for a lot of their history. So we've got a couple guys from that history, George Sisler and Ken Williams. And then to continue the defense, we've got Paul Blair in center field, 8-time Gold Glove winner. So between him and Brooks Robinson, you got like 24 Gold Gloves on this defense. So pretty good looking lineup here. Not the best one that you'll see in this division. The one spot that people might have issue with is at catcher. I've already got Adley Rushman, the current Baltimore Orioles catcher, in this spot. I just think with him being a switch hitter, the fact that he's been really good offensively and defensively, I think he's done enough. And for a franchise that doesn't have a ton of pop at that position, I thought about guys like Matt Wieters, who is also a switch hitter. Rick Dempsey, who does make this roster on the bench. He was the 1983 World Series MVP, so got him on there as a bench player. But there just isn't a whole lot to look at as far as catcher in the Orioles history, so I definitely went with Adley here. And then one guy that I did want to note, Bobby Grich, second baseman. Guy that's way ahead of his time. Played in the 60s, 70s, was a metrics darling. If he played in today's game, he would be looked at as one of the best players in the league because of his on-base percentage, his OPS, all the things that you want in a good hitter in today's game. Back then, it wasn't looked at very highly because it was all about batting average and how many hits you got. So he was more of like a 260 hitter during his day, so it wasn't anything crazy during his time, but definitely more of a cult classic type of guy. On the bench, you got like Adam Jones, Brian Roberts, Rick Dempsey, Ken Singleton, solid guys from their history. But as we look at the pitchers, pretty top heavy. Got a couple Hall of Famers, Jim Palmer, Mike Messina manning things down at the top of the rotation, Dave McNally, and then a couple of Cy Young winners in Cuellar and Flanagan. Mike Messina, don't let that 3.53 ERA fool you. He played in one of the toughest eras to pitch in Major League Baseball, the peak steroid era. So that 3.53, if you want to like condense that into what that would look like in today's game, he'd probably be a sub 3 in today's game. So great that he's a Hall of Famer. Got in a couple of years ago, I believe. And then with the bullpen, pretty solid bullpen. Zach Britton I went with for the closer, a lefty, more recent guy. 2016 was his big year where he had a .54 ERA for the Baltimore Orioles, and just looked at as a guy with the power sinker, lockdown ninth inning stoppers. Definitely went with him over the rest of these guys at closer. Do want to shout out Hall of Famer Hoyt Wilhelm, knuckleball legend, one of the earlier Baltimore Orioles greats. Definitely wanted to get him on here. Had a 2.42 ERA, so he's definitely, through his time with Baltimore, was a pretty solid arm for them. Also got the ERA title in 1959. Pretty solid bullpen looking at it. And I think I got most of their history built into this roster. What do you think about this one, Logan?
Yeah, I mean, compared to
The next two teams.
Historically, they've been around for a long time, so you will have names on here like Ripken Jr. and stuff. But I mean, they're just in the division with Red Sox and Yankees, which once you start naming those, it'll be pretty clear who the better team was. But yeah, I don't mind it. I didn't do as much research or put as much time in as you have these last few years, it sounds like. But from what I looked at, these were the guys that I was seeing. Some of the guys I wrote down. So I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Hopefully, Baltimore Nation agrees with you.
Yeah. Baltimore fans, if you're watching, definitely put your thoughts into the comment section of what you think about this roster. Um, do like the Frank Robinson edition, 1966 Triple Crown winner. Definitely had to include him in right field. So moving on to the Boston Red Sox, and if you thought Baltimore's lineup was good, this one's 10 times better. It's absolutely stacked top to bottom. Currently, there are 6 Hall of Famers in my starting lineup for this team. Speaker, Williams, Fox, Ortiz, Boggs, and Fisk. Just at every era of this Boston Red Sox. It's crazy that they had such a long drought of World Series championships because they've had so many great players come through their organization. And you look at the guys who in the starting lineup who aren't Hall of Famers. Two of them, I think, in the future will be with Dustin Pedroia and Mookie Betts. The one thing about the lineup here is I think the toughest thing for me was to not have Carl Yastrzemski in the starting lineup. There was just no way I could fit him in. With him mostly playing left field and first base and a little time in center, I could not fit him in over Ted Williams, Jimmy
No, you
Fox,
cannot. No,
Tris
Ted
Speaker,
Williams.
and I
Yeah,
couldn't put him in right field over Mookie just because he played like 8 games in right field in his whole career. So, um, so yeah, probably the best bat that you'll see on a bench for any team. And I think a lineup that goes toe to toe with any lineup that you'll see going forward, even the Yankees lineup, just an all time great. Even a guy like Nomar Garciaparra, who would be the only one in this lineup that wouldn't be a Hall of Famer at this point, had an absolute amazing peak with them. Had a 323 batting average, 2 batting champs in 99 and 2000, and just a really good defensive shortstop as well. So quite the lineup here, taking into account their whole history, even way back into the dead ball era with Tris Speaker, which obviously with his batting average at 337, one of those guys like the Ty Cobbs, the Honus Wagners of the world. Definitely a stacked lineup. Not to sell short Manny Ramirez, who does make this roster on the bench. We probably see him again in the next division that we go over. On the pitching side of things, I think this is the best pitching staff in the division. You've got Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, Cy Young, Lefty Grove, and Louis Tiant in that starting rotation. Martinez, 2 Cy Youngs, probably the best peak of any pitcher ever, considering his 2000 season was probably the best pitching season ever from any player because he ended with a 1.74 ERA in the height of the steroid era, which is just unheard of. Most guys were well over 3 and into the 4 in their ERA total. So obviously Roger Clemens, we know everything about him. Multiple ERA titles, 3 Cy Youngs during his time, and even an MVP award in 1986. Just the franchise workhorse, all-time legend. And then obviously Cy Young, the namesake of the award given to the best player, best pitcher in the league, has to make it onto this roster just for some of the crazy stats that he owns in terms of totals that will never be touched because he pitched every game, it felt like, looking at his baseball reference page. Lefty Grove, late career Lefty Grove, hit his peak with the Oakland A's, actually the Philadelphia A's, but put in quality years with the Boston Red Sox, having 4 ERA titles to his name. And then it keeps going into the bullpen with one of the best closers in history, Jonathan Papelbon. You get Koji Uehara, Craig Kimbrell, a lot of the more recent guys who have blessed the Red Sox bullpen. We did fit in a couple of starters, and you'll see this as we keep going, putting in a couple starters who don't make the rotation into the bottom of the bullpen as long relief pitchers. Those guys here are John Lester and Tim Wakefield. We get another knuckleballer in Tim Wakefield, and obviously Lester with his contributions to the 07 and 2013 World Series teams had to be included. Altogether, this is one of the best teams that I put together, and one of the best teams if you were to put this into a season and play it out. They'd definitely be one of the front runners to win it all. And I think still, I think it's a better pitching staff than the Yankees, which I think makes it a situation where if you were to play this out, they could win the division over the behemoth New York Yankees.
It's interesting how you have like so many recent guys on here, considering the history of the Red Sox. But I mean,
Right.
that's where they've won most of their World Series.
Right.
I mean, it's in the 2000s and 2010s, so
There
it
was such
makes
a gap.
sense. Yes, exactly. And then I mean, yeah, I love this pitching staff so much. Yeah, Pedro Martinez is one of the best of all time. Roger Clemens, I'm sure his name will pop up a couple times on this maybe list. Great pitcher, even better person. Just a really great guy. Yeah, Cy Young. I mean, you don't even have to look at his stats to know that he probably deserves to be on it, just because every pitcher after him has won, aspired to win his award. So yeah, I mean, I haven't seen your Yankees pitching staff, but I can't imagine it would be. I mean, there might be a repeat on here, but I can't imagine you could possibly top this.
Yeah, there were a couple honorable mentions. As far as position players, Dwight Evans and Jim Rice were a couple ones that were hard to leave off. And then pitching wise, I thought about having Babe Ruth in the bullpen for his
Oh, yeah,
time
I was
with the
going to
Red
point that
Sox.
out. I saw that. I was like, yeah, you're kind of forgetting maybe the best baseball player of all time.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a slap in the face to not only the Red Sox but the Yankees to have him listed on this team. Didn't get to hit as much with the Red Sox. He was mostly a pitcher, a pretty good one, in fact. But I just felt like in terms of the guys who best represent the Red Sox, I didn't think that Babe Ruth would be a good inclusion here. Chris Sale, another recent guy, been very injury prone during his time with the Red Sox. So thought I'd leave him off for some better options here. But let's get to the Yankees. All right. This lineup is mostly and should be like all Hall of Famers. Right now, I have it as Derek Jeter, Joe DiMaggio, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, A-Rod, Aaron Judge, Yogi Berra, and Tony Lazzeri. And 7 of those 9 guys are currently Hall of Famers. One of them should be in A-Rod, and one of them will be in Aaron Judge. It's the best lineup you could construct for any team. Most of these guys, if you were constructing an all MLB team, would make it onto just the greatest MLB team of all time. If you wanted to put together that, like, you can't say enough about Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle. Like, I don't. Me talking about them would just not do them justice. Just know that these guys are some of the greatest players to ever bless the diamond.
Well, and you have Don Mattingly and Reggie Jackson on your bench. So
Exactly.
it just kind of
Exactly.
shows you.
Don Mattingly, one of those guys, and Jackson is a Hall of Famer. Don Mattingly should be. If you look at his resume, there's no reason that he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. 307 batting average, 1985 MVP, 9 Gold Gloves, and a batting title in '84. He was a franchise cornerstone player of the 1980s Yankees, which weren't all that successful. They didn't win a World Series that decade, which is surprising because they won World Series in every decade, but should definitely be a Hall of Famer. You also got Thurman Munson, another MVP winner as a backup catcher for this team. And then Robinson Cano. This was I went back and forth between him and Tony Lazzeri for second base. As far as the starter, ultimately went with Lazzeri just because he was one of the key pieces of the Murderers Row, the 1920s Yankees. He is a Hall of Famer. Cano will never be one. And you could go either way with this one. They both had really good batting averages, good pop. Definitely Lazzeri for his time period had really good pop. So I think either way, you can't go wrong with this. The pitching side of things, very solid. 3 Hall of Famers in the rotation: Whitey Ford, Lefty Gomez, and Red Ruffing. Ron Guidry also, and then Andy Pettitte rounds out your starting rotation. Not names you would think of being in a Yankees rotation, but these are some top quality arms that kind of get overlooked because of all the bats in their history. and Andy Pettitte being one of the great workhorses in MLB history. So pretty solid rotation, but I think the bullpen is where things get really sexy for him, and that's with Mariano Rivera, obviously, at closer, Goose Gossage backing him up, 2 Hall of Fame closers in the Yankees history. You got other guys on here like Chapman. Yeah, there's a Aroldis Chapman sighting for you, and David Robertson, who's one of the most underrated relief pitchers in Yankees history. So obviously, loaded lineup. What do you think here?
Where's Jazz Chisholm?
Yeah, just missed the cut.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say his name. I mean, batting clearly clears the Red Sox, but yeah, I agree. I think the pitching for the Red Sox is superior here to the Yankees. So it would be an intriguing 7-game series if these two teams faced off, to say the least. Yeah, pretty obvious why these two teams have kind of been the class of the AL East for most of the years.
Didn't include Clemens. This during his Yankee tenure was probably his worst tenure.
Yeah.
He won a Cy Young, but it was his worst tenure out of the 4 teams he played for. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Rays. Now this franchise has only been around since 1998, so the pickings are a lot thinner for them as opposed to the 3 previous teams we've gone over. But just looking at the roster, I've put together a lot of guys surrounding that 08 pennant run where they went to the World Series. So you get a lot of like Ben Zobrist, Evan Longoria, Carlos Pena, Carl Crawford, BJ Upton. Most of the guys on this team are coming from around that era. But you also get some more recent guys, Kevin Kiermaier, mainly for his glove. I mean, he's mostly a 250 average hitter, but he is one of the most elite center fielders in baseball. So definitely had to include him in center field here. And then Yandy Diaz is probably the best current bat in Rays history. So pretty solid. I mean, you get Evan Longoria, good defense. Carl Crawford, really fast. A lot of stolen bases during his time with the Rays. So it's as solid a lineup you can construct for the lack of history for this franchise. On their
gotta hope
bench,
BJ Upton puts forth 100% effort when he's out there.
right. On the bench, you get some guy, Randy Arozarena, Aubrey Huff, big power bat off the bench, and then Brandon Lau, one of the current. I think he just got moved in the offseason, but big pop out of second base. Catcher really thin here. Deoner Navarro was a sub catcher during his day, but he was part of that 08 team and had some clutch postseason moments for him. So I thought he had the best resume to be put as the starting catcher. And then Toby Hall, longest tenured catcher. So both of those guys get in here on this roster. The pitching side is actually pretty nice when you look at their rotation. David Price, Cy Young winner in 2012. Blake Snell, another Cy Young winner. James Shields, Scott Kazmir, and Shane McClanahan round out the rotation. And then you get Fernando Rodney as the closer for the squad. Electric stuff for the short time that he was with them. Comeback Player of the Year award for the American League. Had the .60 ERA in 2012. So that season alone got him the closing spot on this roster. But then just a lot of other just solid closing and kind of like set up arms in the bullpen with Alex Colomé, Kittredge, McGee, Fairbanks, Roberto Hernandez. So I think altogether a solid team, but just at a disadvantage with this division.
Too young, and tough division. Yeah, but yes, it would be a very good team, though. I would say that. I remember most of these guys growing up when the Rays were good for a short period of time.
And then we will round this division out with the Toronto Blue Jays. They've been around since, I believe, 77. So we got a little bit more history here, but not as much as the Orioles, Red Sox, and Yankees. We've got a couple of Hall of Famers. One of them in the lineup, Roberto Alomar, one of the catalysts during that 2-year stretch where they went back-to-back 92 and 93 in the World Series. But you got some big bats in this lineup, actually, with Josh Donaldson, Carlos Delgado, Jose Bautista, George Bell, Edwin Encarnacion, all those guys, big time power. Makes up most of this batting lineup. And then you got a couple of speedsters with Devin White and Tony Fernandez, who also have pretty good batting averages and gloves, with Tony Fernandez having 4-time Gold Glove winner. Russell Martin got the catcher spot here, but I think given a couple of years, I think Alejandro Kirk, the current catcher, could make it onto this team. He's put up pretty productive numbers, and if they go on another playoff run again like they did last year, he could potentially be on this team. Obviously on the bench, Vladdy Jr. I'm not quite putting him on the starting lineup just yet. Give him a couple more productive seasons, and we'll see about it. John Olerud, Vernon Wells, and Ernie Witt round out the lineup. And then on the rotation side, Roy Halladay, the other Hall of Famer on this team, obviously his Cy Young in 03, 6-time All-Star franchise ace of this team. Dave Stieb and Jimmy Key, underrated guys. Plenty of All-Stars to go around for both those guys. Both have an ERA title in the 80s. And then here's a Roger Clemens sighting. In just 2 seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays, it was probably one of the greatest 2-year runs ever. 2 Cy Youngs in 97 and 98. Not only that, he had 2 Triple Crowns. So he led the league in wins and ERA and strikeouts. Just might have been when he started juicing, but I think with those 2, he definitely at least gets in as the 4-hole in this rotation. And then Pat Henkin, another underrated guy, won the Cy Young in 1996. So pretty solid rotation here for the Blue Jays. But in the bullpen, got Tom Hinkie, Dwayne Ward, a couple of their best saves guys, closers, and then just some like quality arms out of the bullpen. BJ Ryan, Billy Koch, Paul Quantrill, Casey Jansen, just not huge names, but very quality relief arms. And then we rounded out with a couple of starters at the back end of the bullpen with Juan Guzman, who was definitely a big part of that 92-93 World Series teams. And then David Wells, a lot of fame on the Yankees. He was on some of the World Series teams in the 90s, but had a very productive time here with the Toronto Blue Jays. Was on the 1992 World Series team and was a 20-game winner in 2000. So that rounds out the AL East. What did you think of those teams, Logan?
I don't think they will, but I mean, if the Blue Jays make something of what they did last year, a couple of those guys might make their way onto this team eventually. Oh, I got to say, because they were a pretty good team, they were a couple miracle plays away from bringing the Blue Jays their first World Series title since the early 90s. Yeah, which is pretty impressive. It's always impressive when one of the outside teams from the Yankees, Red Sox, goes on a run from this division, just because of how difficult it is. I mean, just look at the NFL. Think of how no AFC East team was good except for like a minor Jets run in the entire Brady era, just because it's hard to compete whenever one team in your division is always so down.
Yeah. Well, this is just one division down. We'll continue on with the AL Central next week, hopefully. If we have to skip a week, we'll come back to this. I'll be sure to reveal all of my teams. I will be getting these sent out in Instagram posts so you guys can look them over. We'll clip this segment too, so if you guys just want to watch this part of the podcast, you can do so. But yeah, any final thoughts for you, Logan, as we end this one?
On the MLB or just anything?
Just anything. Give me your final
Anything.
word.
I'll get my final thoughts. So it ended right as the Super Bowl began, but I watched every minute, and the Waste Management Phoenix Open did not disappoint. It's actually a really good event. It's actually a really fun event to watch. Like, most golf is kind of boring until the Masters, but if you were to watch an event, it would be this one, because the course is just beautiful because it's desert Arizona. The 16th hole is so iconic with the stadium atmosphere, and we had a pretty good 4 days of golf. I mean, Chris Gotterup came back and won after it looked like Hideki Matsuyama was going to win, but he kind of fell apart on the 18th hole, and then his putt, they could have won it with a a plane flew over his head that caused a shadow, and then a disruptor yelled to get in the hole before he could putt. So then he had to throw him off, and then it was going to be the most obvious miss of all time. Got her up, got a chance to into the play-in, and then he took advantage and beat Matsuyama. Other big news: Scheffler was terrible. Well, for Scheffler standards, he was bad. Thursday, he shot a 73 and was like in 100th place or something like that. He proceeded to shoot a 65, 67, and 64 to end up finishing tied for third at minus 15. And keep in mind, Goddard up at Matsuyama were minus 16. So, yeah, he was very close to coming back and winning that. So, just great golf. Now that football's over, if you're looking for something to watch, something to fall asleep to on Sundays other than a boring 6-3 NFL game, then there's golf on that for you.
There you have it. That's the show. This has been the K&L Sports Huddle. For Logan Hubert, I'm Cage Kiplinger. May your bets hit, your team not choke, and your stress levels stay manageable. We'll huddle up again next week.